firefighters across our state. Right now, several fires are burning, but it will still be a tough fight to make sure they're all put out.
Fire crews are telling everyone, though, that is at Bartlett Lake to stay away from the aircraft that's been skimming that water to fill the tanks and then come back over here and then dump that water on the fire. About 500 acres, that's the estimate right now, has burned. Just up the road on the Beeline Highway, there is another fire burning. This is the Spring Fire, much larger. It's about 4,000 acres right now. The terrain in that area is very tough for those firefighters to get around. There's about 140 people working on that fire right now. At about 6 o'clock last night, there was an emergency closure in that area that was issued.
We have causes for those wildfires have all been started by humans. Dragging chains so far this year has been a really big cause of those fires. So it's really important to be mindful of everything happening right outside.
And that breaking news, a new fire burning more than 100 acres, turning golden ground to black. It is burning near Altamont Pass, the second fire in that area since Saturday. Firefighters say they are making good progress, and this fire is no longer threatening buildings.
This fire sparked about 4:30 this afternoon near Patterson Pass. That road is closed, and so are some other roads nearby.
Welcome to a very late night update. I am your late night host, Dean Ryan. And what a just constant turn of events the past 48 hours have really turned and transpired into. We have seen a well-documented overreach by the federal government in the Alex Jones case. As we know, that is a domino that will then branch out to virtually everyone else in the true independent media, which will then start dwelling into just pretty much every individual who is considered a dissident. We are in a wartime, not even scenario. We are in wartime. Tonight, we're going to just get down to business here. We are under attack here in the United States. I have not felt this type of pressure. I have not smelt the remnants of malintent since 2020. And I mean, the fires are back. The great fire tornadoes, a so-called natural disaster. Hardly, but very timely. Let's just get to it. There are just dozens and dozens of wildfires happening just right now. Why? As you saw in the clips there, why is this happening? How can the just impeccable timing ever since the Trump verdict, we have seen some of the most dastardly acts by the so-called American government. As far as even giving the okay to the Mossad ran, driven, produced with the co-producers of the Central Intelligence, it's all the same to fire the American rockets paid for, purchased by, delivered by the American taxpayers into Ukraine to Zelensky, the so-called president sponsored by Mossad over there in Ukraine, to then fire those into Moscow, fire them into Russia, get a bigger war started. And that's what it is. We are seeing an attack on all fronts, from legal, spiritual, to the censorship, the demonetization, to a race war in a helter-skelter kind of fashion, international war, financial war, food epidemic war, and now here we are again, reliving the so-called natural wildfires. And you better believe they're going to attribute this to the pseudoscience authored climate change. Let's take a look at this now. This is the wildfires now happening throughout the West. We're going to go through these, and then I have a map here. You're going to see just what they're saying the cause is. Now let's have a little look at this map, and it's going to show the variety in the vast amount of wildfires that are currently actively happening around the country, but specifically Southwest. Well, there it is. Look at all these things. Let's go over this here. Well, you have New Mexico, you have Phoenix, and you have just a plethora of those throughout California, all the way down to the borders of Baja California. Then you have a slight few in Colorado, but that's a very protected state for very known reasons for another time. Utah, Nevada. Then if you scroll up here, you have a little handful over here going into Idaho, near Washington there on the border, into very moderate but yet severe in a very cooler climate, to even Portland, where Portland, if you recall back in 2020, places like Eugene, where very rancher type families resided, some of them were burned alive in the wildfires that were not so wild but deadly on purpose, as they were boxed in by Antifa or whoever the international adversary was masquerading as someone local. Well, let's go to Phoenix. Let's go to Arizona, where it's triple digits. Let's see what's happening here. As you see St. George right there, very beautiful place. Now, extreme. And I got to tell you, I have been receiving excessive heat warnings all day long, and I should say all week long for that fact, with very, very bad air quality. So here it is. Oh, you have some very, very big ones here in and near and around the Phoenix area. Well, let's look at this one here. This is a wildfire cat, about 14,000 acres, contain 95%. That's a good thing. Well, but if you look at that just one more time here, what is the cause? Human. You'll see a theme here. You're going to see a theme of human caused. And let's try to remember that before they change the narrative that just the weather gods who are pissed off because we don't acknowledge their carbon credits, so they did it. We're not the cause. And whose human is it? Here's another one. 40,000, excuse me, here's another one. 4,022 acres. This is the spring fire. Cause, human. Cause, human caused. How can this be? Now, if you listen to the newscast earlier, she was trying to claim that, well, it's from the chains on trucks as they were just committing sparks as it just trailed along the highway, dragging from behind. I mean, right up there with the magical bullet theory. I think we can put that on the shelf and let it just dust itself to death. Well, let's see what the cause is now in California. Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get down. Let's start. Here we have Tijuana. Here we have some things going on here in San Diego a little bit here, but let's go to Barstow and Victorville. The cause is not available. They don't want to tell us. It's the Sorrel fire. So some things are just getting started. These things are just starting in the past. All these fires, by the way, you're going to find out have all occurred in the past 24 hours, all in unison. Before we get to the real cause, let's be little studious vagabonds here as we try to get to the bottom of it. Here's San Jose, a lot of stuff going on in the Bay Area of California. And the California plays by their own rules, whether it's the elections or just following their own pseudoscience from the CCP death cabinets. They do it, they mean it, and we're not stopping them unless we mean it too. Now let's get to Albuquerque here, one of the most corrupt states, in the most corrupt police departments, in a trafficking Club Med. Well, here, look at this one here. What are the odds? 11,500 acres. What's the cause? Lightning. There it is. So these are small ones that are contained, but they're going for it. Let's talk about the real causes of this. I mean, there's no such thing as coincidences. We have an open border. We've had one for quite some time now. Is it foolish to think that the same cavalry of the so-called Muslim Brotherhood that was allowed into LAX during the 1992 riots to ignite all the fires in unison? Are we not seeing a kind of replay of that? But, throw a bit of the Mossad characters into the fold. We have ourselves a perfect storm. Foreign adversaries embedded within the United States, not just government, but the actual forest, suburbs, and a park, actually, near you. Here we are. But why is this happening? Why is this happening at this very late hour, as we were discovering just every single new facet of information, of attack, attempted attack, failed or otherwise, happening now? We're at the precipice of a major confrontation that is wanted by the power structure to then what? To then what? There's the question. Let's get into some motives here.
He just said I had a vaccine. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent. You confess that you made up the COVID rules,
I didn't
including
hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made up. You
I
made it
didn't
up as
say
you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr.
I
Fauci?
didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science. And making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. That man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked and he belongs in
Don't let
prison.
him suspend.
Here you are without your mask, where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
That you gave as part of an audiobook written by Michael Spector. You believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated.
You think can be done about it? I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not. And
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, do you think the American public should listen to America's brightest and best doctors and scientists, or instead listen to podcasters, conspiracy theorists, and unhinged Facebook memes?
And people who refuse to get vaccinated for any variety of reasons, probably responsible for an additional 200,000 to 300,000 deaths in this country.
Well, I think we've found the nucleus of the true motive here. Very coordinated fires, coordinated attacks from the Department of Injustice, the State Department, and the sentiment, the anger, and the temperament in the United States is rising to an extremely hot fever pitch. This is the level of corruption that we have not seen so brazen in our face in ages. When I mean ages, I'm talking like 2020. Here we are again. And if there's anyone who can really put their finger on the pulse and articulate and illustrate with very colorful English language, is the one and only Marjorie Greene Taylor.
No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump, worshiping as a convicted felon. Well, yeah, so is George Floyd. And everybody, and you all too, the media worship George Floyd. Democrats worship George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd, and Raskin is in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you, and this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God. And Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop BS and annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing. That's how the American people feel. Excuse me.
Did we hear the buzzword that was just issued from Ms. Taylor? Did we understand? Did we catch the daily double there? Crimes against humanity. This is why we've seen a apology, but not an apology kind of a tour from the Chris Cuomos of the world. You're starting to hear this from all officials from local to state to county to federal to international of, oh, we didn't know. We were just following the orders, which let me translate this as we were paid and we were promised immunity. We were promised protection, safety. We had the vision of this Fourth Reich bubble that's now bursting with poison just splattering everywhere. And now the American people present right there from just the wonderful verbiage from a very elegant woman there, Marjorie Green Taylor. And it just, if I was not exhausted, I'd be crying with historical joy because we're at that point now. This is the point here. They want a civil war. They want the international war. They want a war where you'd even think wars would even take place or exist. Because the depopulation extermination module is in full speed, pedal to the metal. But those with the amount of integrity, perseverance, wit, understanding, who have stayed the course, who have gotten off the course but came back on, let's get back in tune here because this is our world. This is the reality. To what degree of lunacy, contrived, manuscripted, that is for the individual to decide. But we are in World War III now. This is it. This is happening. And only those who have enough sense, only those with enough sense understanding who are staying in the know, figure this out.
As more evidence builds and guilt continues to shame the Faucis of this world and all his minions, well, more mysterious reports begin clouding the U.S. media headlines as cancer seems to be on the rise with no origin in sight, no explanation nearby, and not many solutions within reach. Well, this one comes from CBS News. As now 61% of U.S. adults will have some type of cardiovascular disease by 2050, a report finds. That's right. In a very not-so-stunning turn of events, cardiovascular disease is leading the cause of death and disability in the United States. New projections find it may become even more common in the next 30 years. When a new report released just hours ago, the American Heart Association says more than 6 in 10 U.S. adults will have some type of cardiovascular disease by 2050. This is particularly driven by a projected 184 million people with hypertension, high blood pressure, which is expected to increase from 51 to 61% by 2025. Many have asked, well, where are the other increases expected? Well, the experts from the American Heart Association, as well as other experts who are familiar with the matter, are saying that total cardiovascular disease diagnosis, which includes numbers for strokes but not high blood pressure, will increase from 11 to 15%. That's 28 million to 45 million adults during this very same time. Now, the strokes specifically will see the largest increase according to many reports, particularly this one, jumping from 3.9 to 6.4%, with total prevalence number nearly doubling from 10 million to almost 20 million in adults. Increases were also projected from coronary heart disease, from 7.8 to 9.2, and heart failure from 2.7 to 3.8. While there is a projected decline, we all know the truth, and many know and can smell a liar in a rotten institution when it's right in front of us. The experts who are familiar with the matter, minus reality, have also said that these disparities can be attributed to the individual structural and systematic racism, as well as socioeconomic factors and access to care, the reports notes. Unless the systematic racism is code for miracle jab. Well, in another turn of shocking events, said nobody. Well, now, get this, colon cancer crises in young people have now been on the rise. The colon cancer crises in young people is not only just on the rise, but experts who are familiar with this matter have said it's being fueled by the booming energy drinks that are adored by teens. That's right. Just when you thought the bag of excuses, lies, and blistering deceit was near empty, well, guess again. The highly caffeinated energy drinks could be partly fueling the explosion of colon cancers in young people, U.S. researchers warn. Well, the U.S. researchers warn. And that's all they'll warn about. That's right. Researchers in Florida also theorize the cancer cells use taurine. They theorize the cancer cells use taurine, an amino acid that to improve mental clarity as their primary energy source for their cancer agenda. Well, most recently at the world's biggest cancer conference, this team, who's very familiar with colons and cancers that are in them, announced a new human trial that will test their hypotheses, which so far is based on animal studies. Plan to discover whether drinking energy drinks every day can be a good excuse to really cover for colon cancer, or if they're really going to have to find another substitute for the miracle jab cancer link. Well, there you have it. The irony, the fallacies, does never fall short on us, doesn't it? Yes, we have another day where we have to live up to measure in this very mundane society. You want to strive for something more, but you don't know where to go and who to go to. Should he wait at home? Should he read another novella? Shall he make a call out and receive some takeout? Should he continue to have a mundane weekend? Or should it become a Real Deal Media Night Owl? Get your Real Deal Media membership tonight. Become the visionaire of debonair. Go to realdealmedia.tv/membership and tell the shadow government that you see them.
We are being attacked on all sides of the border now. North, south, east, west. We have missiles, foreign submarine actors in Canadian waters as close as the Tacoma-Washington border. We're coming to a very, very bold conclusion as every day more and more is coming out about the onslaught of an attack on ordinary citizens around the world under the measurement of precaution and safety and to stop the damn spread. Well, here we are now. So in closing here, I'm going to be monitoring these wartime efforts by all sorts of actors involved here as my relocation effort is underway. This was totally unexpected, but then again, subconsciously it was. So I will be monitoring everything everywhere with headlines, news, atrocities, good things. It's happening. So I want to thank you for joining me on this very, very late night update. I'm Dean Ryan, telling you to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night, everybody.